Good afternoon and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our first quarterly Entrepreneurial Legacy Forum. So the theme for this quarter's panel is Women Mean Business. My name is Kim Arnold and I'm the Community Programs Manager here at Motown Museum. So now that you know who I am, let us know who you all are in the chat. Introduce yourself because we'd love to see where you're all joining us from. So just so you all know, there will be time for Q&A toward the end. So as we're hearing from our panelists and your brains are turning, if you think of a question, just send it to us using the Q&A feature. We have a lot of great information to share with you all today. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in and get to it. But before we meet our panelists, I do just want to share with you all who we are and what Motown Museum is. Why are we all here today? As an undeniable force of social and cultural change, Bertha Gordy's legendary Motown Records made its mark not just on the music industry, but on society at large. With a sound that has become one of the most significant musical accomplishments and success stories of the 20th century, Motown of course stands for more than just that historic music. The label and its remarkable legacy is a reflection of the hard work of dedicated individuals overcoming incredible obstacles to achieve great success. Sounds like the recipe for an entrepreneur, right? Over a half century ago, a young African-American songwriter named Bertha Gordy turned an $800 loan from his family savings club into a historic music empire, which became the largest manufacturer of 45 RPM records in the world. Now, not just Michigan and not even the US, the whole world. That's crazy. Motown Records turned into one of the most influential entertainment enterprises of our time. When Motown was housed in its famed Hitsville, USA offices in Detroit, it wasn't just a location. History was going to be made there. Bertha Gordy created a 24-hour hit-making and artist development factory, nurturing the artistic talent of the singers, the songwriters, the producers, and even the corporate executives. Now, despite the passage of time since Motown Records' establishment, tens of thousands of visitors pass through Hitsville, USA, home to the Motown Museum each year. Our visitors' presence is a testimony to Motown's legacy and to the charisma and talent of the music and those who made it. Home to Studio A, an extensive array of Motown artifacts, photographs, and other memorabilia, the museum's mission is to protect and preserve the Motown legacy. And part of this role is to continue sharing the rich history of the family that helped shape that legacy, the Gordy family. The Entrepreneurial Legacy Forum, the reason we're all tuning in to Zoom today, provides the opportunity to highlight the same entrepreneurial spirit that the Gordy family had. These quarterly forums will bring together a series of thought leaders from around the country to exchange views on leadership, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Focused on providing a platform for all people to flourish as thinkers, to flourish as creators, and entrepreneurs, Motown Museum's cornerstone is to cultivate the next generation of talent, cultivate that next generation of entrepreneurs. And women entrepreneurs are an important aspect of that goal. Women played a really special role in the success of Motown, and today I'm really excited. We have our chairwoman and CEO of Motown Museum and one of the Gordy women, Robin Terry, to share more about the heritage and the entrepreneurial spirit of the Gordy women. Robin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Kim. That was fantastic. Special thank you to everybody who is tuning in for this webinar. We're excited to bring this to you. We're also really delighted and thankful to have our panelists participating with us. What an exciting group of women entrepreneurs. My role today is just to tell you a little bit about the fierce women who are part of the Gordy family heritage. We often think about Motown and we think about the success of Bertha Gordy, and rightly so. But what few people know is that much of his success and his ability to be as successful as he was really attributed to the women in his life, starting with my great-grandmother, who is Bertha Gordy. And for those of you who don't know, the Gordy family was made up of 4 boys and 4 girls. And Bertha Gordy, being the matriarch of the family, you know, was the first to co-found her own insurance company, moved to Detroit from the South in the mid-40s, and then opened a grocery store in Detroit. Entrepreneurship just is in our blood as a family. Each of the 4 women played key parts. If you've heard of Gwen Gordy Fuqua, Gwen Gordy and her sister Anna Gordy, they actually created their own independent record label before their brother Berry Gordy in the 50s. In fact, Gwen got into business right out of high school with a concession stand. And then there was Lucy Gordy, and Lucy, who I loved very dearly. Lucy Gordy was not only in finance, but a senior vice president at the company of Motown. And then my grandmother's Esther Gordy Edwards, the founder of Motown Museum. And she, of all of her siblings, was the only one to go to college. And so her aspirations were high as a woman. She went to her brother and said, hey, look, I will go into business with you. If you go up, I'll go up with you. If you go down, I'll go down with you. And she helped him to build his business. All of these women in their own right created legacies for themselves. And Gwen and Anna took their record label, which was Anna Records, folded it into Motown to allow Berry Gordy not to start from ground zero. And then my grandmother, his sister, brought her wisdom and made sure that the business acumen for Motown was intact. So, you know, it's a legacy of fierce women who are courageous, like our panelists today, and who are contributing. They contributed to the world in the same way that our wonderful panelists will today. Again, we're excited to have you here to be a part of this as we build on and continue to share, you know, the story of Motown and the Gordy family with the rest of the world. So thank you, Kim. And with that, let's get into some great conversation.
Thank you so much, Robin. And as she said, we're so grateful to have you all joining us today. I was checking out the webinar chat. I see people from the East Coast, from the South, from the West. It just got me really excited to have us all here today. So to pay homage to the Gordy women, today's forum was designed to celebrate female-owned and operated businesses by having a collection of successful owners join us right here from Detroit. Now, we were intentional with selecting our panel for today. We've selected these women because they span different industries and spaces within the entrepreneurial world. So giving you all a little variety, from retail to restaurants to construction, and because of their own business brilliance. So without further ado, let's just meet our rockstar panelists. Today, we will chat with Q Broden, owner and chef at The Kitchen by Cooking with Q. Asia Denson, owner at Denson Construction Services. Laura Horwath, owner at Fern Boutique. Amy Peterson, co-founder and CEO at Rebel Nell. And Rachel Lutz, owner at The Peacock Room. So now that you know a little more about Motown Museum and who we are, let's learn about our panelists. Q, could you introduce yourself and share a brief history of your business?
Hi, everybody. My name is Q. Well, it's Kiana Broden, but everybody calls me Q because we're family, so we're all family now. Hey, how are you? You know, I am Detroit born and raised. I started Cooking with Q as just a blog to show people how to eat healthy, and it turned into us venturing out and opening up a kitchen space. Our entire mission is to teach people how to eat to live by introducing a little bit more plant-based foods in the everyday living, not forcing people to be vegans, but I want everybody to learn how to eat healthy because you need to eat just like you need to breathe, and it kind of matters what you put inside because what you put inside is what you get out. So when people come to the kitchen, we are right in Midtown on Woodward in the New Center area. We got tons of food. We got soup, salads, healthy foods, and we're a demonstration kitchen where people can actually come and learn how to cook in a better way in person. So yeah, and this is our first year. June 3rd was our 1-year anniversary.
Yes, congratulations on the 1 year.
Yes.
Yes. I love that it started out as a blog. I think that's why everyone should just put yourself out there and try whatever you want to try, because you never know your
Absolutely.
blog could turn into an entire restaurant. So I love that. Thank you, Q.
Thank you, my dear.
Right? Asia, what about you? Can you share a brief history of your business and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Asia Denson. The name of my company is Denson Construction Services. I'm a licensed general contractor here in Detroit, and I'm an industrial engineer. I attended Jackson State University with a BS in Industrial Technology Engineering, and I graduated from Eastern with an MS in Construction Management. So my company, basically, we do kitchen and bathroom renovations, but we do whole homes as well. Majority of my clients are investors. I can probably count how many of my clients I've actually met in person. So that's the power of social media and technology. So I kind of cater more to investors than homeowners, but it wasn't by choice. It just kind of happened that way. But that's pretty much a summary of what I do. So I'm a contractor. I fix and flip houses. I turn ugly houses and make them pretty again.
Thank you, Asia. And I think everyone loves to have their home reflect who they are. So I feel like that's so important in making your house a home.
Yes.
Let's hear about Fern Boutique. Laura, could you introduce yourself and share a brief history of your business?
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me. So I went a little crazy 5 years ago and quit my job and decided to open a retail store. That's what I tell everyone, because people are like, how did you get into this? What is happening? So I just found a need in the community that I was living in at the time in Bay City. It's about 2 hours north of Detroit. There just wasn't anything there, for anyone to shop. I mean, all these women, they want to go to boutiques and have these options, and it just wasn't there. So I decided to help everyone out and open a business. So we started there, and then we quickly realized that I think, everybody wants to shop online, but they also want the in-store option. So we started looking to see what other communities we could, grow into, and where could we put other stores where this would make sense. So Detroit was our next location. We opened there. It was 2 years ago, actually, this month. So we've been right next door to Cooking with Q on Woodward and New Center. So we're all family. This is not a lie. It's true. So yeah, it's just honestly been a really cool experience to be able to provide styling and clothing and making women feel good, and just that confidence of, you want to go somewhere and you want to have a conversation with someone about what you're looking for. You don't just want to walk in and just pick something out and leave. So we really build relationships, and we really care about the community too that we're in. So it's just been a lot of fun having, and hard work, of course, having, the stores, but yeah, it's just been great. And we're just here to make women happy and feel good about themselves. So that's me.
And Laura, that's such a strategic way to go at it, to just find a need in the community and fill that for them, because the demand will be there. That's such a smart way to go about it. Amy, we'd love to hear your story as well. Could you introduce yourself and share a brief history of your business?
Yes, hi, I'm Amy Peterson. It's an honor to be here today. I'm a big fan of every woman on this panel, so it's just fun when we can't be in person to see everybody's faces virtually. I started Rebel Nell in 2013. We're a social enterprise based in Detroit. We exist to employ, educate, and empower women with barriers to employment. So we hire directly out of local shelters. Our focus is primarily on providing economic opportunity for women who have either faced homelessness or have been formerly incarcerated, or refugees. And we make unique, one-of-a-kind jewelry by repurposing materials such as graffiti once it falls off the walls, and other unique items. I'm really proud to say that to date we've hired 26 women out of shelter living and have graduated 20 into the traditional workforce. And that's what I do. Like, very similar to Q, this was just I had a full-time job, a great job, this was a passion project that I decided to go all in and do 2 years ago, even though we're 7 years old now. And it was one of the scariest and best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Thank you, Amy. I love that. Just putting yourself out there, like I said with Q, you never know where things could go. So that's really awesome. And last but not least, we've got Rachel. Could you introduce yourself and share a brief history of your business?
Hi, I'm Rachel. Asia said it best when she said it just kind of happened that way. Like if there could be a title for a blog of entrepreneurship, it would probably be that. So I actually wanted to go into public service and possibly journalism. I actually worked for the White House when I was 18 years old for a few years, then did backwards, went to Wayne State. I majored in political science and then changed that to public relations. So I moved into the city in 1998. And my parents had businesses in the city, my grandparents, my great-grandparents. So eventually, as I was working my way through school, doing retail, I thought it'd be so cool to own my own store one day. And the best thing ever happened. I got laid off from my luxury retail sales position. And I just kind of floated around for about a year and a half thinking, I want to open my own store. Detroit was like the only option in my mind because I always wanted to shop local. And I felt like the one thing I really had to leave the city to buy was clothing accessories. At the time, I really felt we had like expensive boutiques or thrift stores, and there wasn't really a lot in between. So like Laura, I kind of saw the need, and I hate shopping. I hate the fashion industry. I really wanted to create an environment that was reminiscent of our glorious retail legacy here in Detroit. We had Hudson's and Himmelho's and Jacobson's, and you just don't have that anymore. You know, Mr. Hudson is like rolling in his grave at what retail has become. So I decided to take out a credit card for $1,500. I maxed it out going to thrift stores and estate sales, and I bought resale clothing. We started out as a resale concept because I had no capital. And later, after months of pop-ups, I took my sales receipts to my godmother, and like you had mentioned, through a family savings club, that's how a lot of people who don't have traditional access to banks, like we've kind of had to look out for ourselves. And my godmother took her, you know, PIN money and gave me an interest-free loan from there where I signed a lease. I took that $1,500. We now have 4 stores that do over $1 million in revenue a year. We're in the shadows of Motown, which is amazing, as all of these businesses are. So we have 2 stores in the Park Shelton next to the Detroit Institute of Arts, and 2 stores here in the Fisher Building, and we serve women of all sizes 0 to 22, all budgets, and it really has been a wild ride, but by accident, I'm here. And yeah, start small. I really love how you said to start small.
And by accident, you're here, and that's all that matters.
There you go.
And what I really love about what you said, I actually hate shopping too. So what I love that you and Laura both said about building those relationships and making the shopping experience enjoyable, because I actually really don't like it. So when I see businesses that are making that extra effort, like that's where I go, hands down. So thank you so much for making note of that, you and Laura. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you guys see, I was not playing around when I said we've got some rock star panelists for you all. So let's just take a step back, because I want to go back in time to when, ladies, you were all just getting started and just beginning on this path. So Q, can you tell us what success looked like for you when you were first getting started?
So if I were to be perfectly honest, I'm very basic. So I like to celebrate like the small things, the smallest. Like I am a firecracker, but like the small things matter to me. So the success for me was like, okay, you're going to start a blog, right? Is anybody going to read it? So let's make sure. And that was my first thing. Like I wanted to make sure that was number one, it was user friendly. So that was small things for me, like, and do it legally, because everybody wants to start a business, but nobody wants to put in the work. Like, if you're gonna start a business, it has to be start a business, like do it the right way. And then I wanted to go to the people that already had businesses in place, so I could get information. So for me, the small victories were success levels for me, because I think when you start doing a business or you start doing anything, like you get so sidetracked because you're like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. But the reality is like, hey, I wrote a blog today. Clap it up. That was a good thing. You know what I mean? Like I did something, because I could have not did that. You know what I mean? And then getting into like the brick and mortar, for me, the success of the brick and mortar was like the process. the process of even getting to the brick and mortar, because you start to want a brick and mortar and then you think you know things that you don't know how much it costs. It's like an imaginary thought. And then you get the real number and you're like, who told me to do this? Am I crazy? Well, this is psycho, right? So just seeing the small steps, like, okay, we got a license. Hey, I got a contractor. Hey, I got an architect. Small things. That's what the success looks like to me. It's okay to celebrate the small things that happen, because those small things turn into like a huge brick and mortar where people can actually come and sit down in. So, I mean, that's what success looks like to me.
And that's crucial, because with starting with the small goals and celebrating the small wins, that's something that's actually attainable. Not saying that somebody could come out of the gate brand new and start $1 million business. You of course can do that, but starting with those small obtainable goals, like there's nothing wrong with that. Celebrate those small wins.
They count.
Asia, what was it for you? How did you define success when you were getting started?
For me, my success was a little different because I started flat broke. So to me, anything was better than where I was at. So that's really how I started. Like, and now that I look back on it, me losing my condo and everything and moving back home with my mom, that was actually a big blessing in disguise for me, like huge blessing, because I was able to come home and just really go all in on my business. And I think you got to have like a really good vision. So even though I was broke, I saw myself 10, 15 years away from now to where I'm at now. And I think that's really what kept me going, because it's very hard. It's emotional. You up and down. It's like, man, do I go apply for a job? You know what I'm saying? Like, but like, and then I did go back to work in 2013, and that was the last year I've ever had a job. And to me, I think that's the best thing ever. So that's kind of like my success to me is not having to depend on anybody else but me, to not ever be at that low point again, because it's my fault. It's not because nobody else is like, oh my God, we're closing today. You got to go, bye. And like, I don't ever want to experience that again. So that's definitely what success is to me.
And Asia, I think there's some parallels between what and Q said when you mentioned just anything that was better than what you were doing now. I think that's another way to celebrate a small win. Like everything that you were doing was better than before. So that's just another testament, like celebrate those little wins, because like you said, they'll get you to that vision 10 to 15 years from now. So that's super important.
Yes.
So Laura, when you were starting Fern Boutique, what did success look like for you? Was it something similar or was it completely different?
I mean, really, honestly, what I wanted to achieve was a place that people wanted to come to, right? Like, you know, people ask me all the time, like, how do you know what to buy? And that question comes up so much. And it's like, you literally don't. I mean, like, I'm starting and it's like, well, I hope people like this stuff, because otherwise I got no more cash flow to just bring out and start buying more. So it's one of those things, like, it's also really weird. I've noticed this. You don't realize you're good at something until you've done it for like 2 years. And you're like, oh, wait, obviously I'm good at this. Like, you don't sit there and think, oh, I'm really good at this. And when you start, you're like, is this going to be okay? You've done all this research. You have a business plan. You have all this stuff. But like at the end of the day, you have to sell things to people to continue the business. Like, I know there's so many other aspects that go into it, but I just wanted people to like it and people to buy things and people to tell their friends about it and it to stay there. Because the question of what happens if it doesn't succeed, well, then it fails, is you almost have to be ready for that, to fail all the time, because it's going to happen. Like, it just is. You can't be like, oh, this is perfect. I'm a millionaire. I do everything right. I'm so smart. I know, like, no, that's not a thing. So it just, I think once I realized people really liked Fern and they wanted to buy and they wanted to come in and they were excited about what I was doing, to me, I'm giving the customer what they want. And that makes me happy. Like, I could be fine with one location, just loving that. But I think that it just started to build. Like, if people like this here, they're going to like it in other places. So I truly wanted it to be a place that women love to go. And I mean, if I had a TV with football on and beer served, men would be there all the time as well and buying things for their wives and moms and everything. So maybe that'll be a 2.0 business idea.
I was going to say, I think you might have struck gold there. I think that's the way to go. Just handing out the credit card to the wife when they're ready to pay.
Yeah, right.
So Amy, how did you define success when you started Rebel Mill?
Yeah, I think these ladies hit on it so well, is like really just trying to appreciate the small steps. I'm still trying to do it now. I always think about everything that I haven't accomplished, and that's something that always like weighs on me. But to celebrate those little wins are really important. For us, testing the product, we did a pitch competition. So my business partner and I, we ran out of our own personal money putting in the business, and we gave it a shot at Detroit Soup. And it's a great organization, especially for new entrepreneurs. It gives anybody an opportunity. You get 4 minutes, and it's just really your passion. You don't even need to have a real business concept or a plan. And everyone there, they get a soup, a salad, and a vote. And so the community is actually voting on the ideas, the pitches that they hear. And when we won soup in July of 2013, that was a huge success for us. Yes, the money was great, and don't get me wrong, we really needed it, and that was like super important. However, what was bigger for us was getting the community to tell us that they liked our idea. That meant more to me than the money, because maybe your idea is good, but it's really not going to work out. But to get other people to believe in you and to buy into it, that's what motivated me. That's what kept us going. That was a really early success that made me think like we had something here. And then the other thing I would just say is accepting failure. You know, kind of Laura touched on it, that working through that is in its own way a success. Like there's so many times you want to shut it up. It's actually, it's sometimes easier to like turn off the lights and say, I gave it a shot. But to just have the power and the strength, because you're going to have a lot of those moments. Oh my God, you're going to have so many. But then those successes are that you get through those moments, and they become easier as you go. So that's what I would say.
And I really like the parallels, Amy, between what you and Laura said and having to be okay with failing. And failing isn't like a bad thing. You just now know that that idea didn't work, and now you can try something else. So I really like the parallel there between your two responses.
Yeah, I've always said I'd rather try and fail than wonder what if.
Exactly. And to do the what ifs or what ifs or what if, yep. Much rather just fall down if I have to. So Rachel, what was it for you? How did you define success?
Yeah, and don't fear failure, fear regret is what I say. In alignment with these other ladies, definitely the small things. So again, when I was starting out, before I even had a storefront, and I was like storing things in my godmother's basement and doing pop-ups, my measurement of success was paying down that credit card a little bit, even if it was like $25, $200, whatever, it was. And then this is hilarious, buying another box of 100 matching hangers so that I could display more, because I didn't want it to look like a thrift store. I wanted it to look like a boutique. So even just like those little things just felt so great. Then once I really got going, and this was with the pop-ups, but like, especially now that I have a retail environment where people can walk into and walk out of, there's just this euphoric high that I get when a woman is like twirling around in a pretty dress in my fitting room, and like came in maybe like shoulders slumped, not really confident, and then like put something on and feels like a rock star. It's this amazing accomplishment. And as you grow, your metrics of happiness change, I think, or your metrics of success. I hope that you still get that little dopamine spurt from those, happy people that you're serving. And the highs get higher. Like we've now dressed for Motown, Martha Reeves, Betty Lavette. We've dressed Jennifer Hudson, Rosario Dawson. Like, I think that when I heard people knew about the store that weren't my friends and family, it's like, you've heard of the Peacock Room? Like, I don't even know you. And they're like, yeah, people talk about it. Like, hearing the buzz go on about your business and what it means to people, that to me is just such a strong reinforcer of success. You can look at numbers. Like the first year I broke $1 million in revenue, it was like, oh my God, how did that happen? But if you focus on the numbers, you lose your vision. I know a lot of people who focus their business on a spreadsheet, and a business does not exist on a spreadsheet. It really exists within the brand and within your heart and what you've created with your vision. But if you focus too much on actual metrics, I think it makes you lose creative sight of what your vision is.
And Rachel, what I really want to hone in on what you just said is how those measures of success, they're going to change. Like how you measured success when you first got started. Like, as we keep saying, celebrating these small wins, and someone in the chat put these small wins are building blocks of something bigger. I really like that. But as we get to those building blocks for something bigger, like the vision gets bigger, the measures of success has to change. So I think that's really important. I'm really glad that you brought that up. So I'm not a business owner, but I even know how challenging the path of an entrepreneur can be. So knowing that this was going to be a roller coaster ride, not an easy road, Laura, how did you decide that owning a business was the right pathway for you? Like, what told you it's time to quit the job? Let's do this.
I think I didn't really think I knew that I wanted to be, I wasn't like, okay, it's time to be an entrepreneur. Like in 2 months, I think it was more of like, I was feeling frustration working in sales and the jobs that I had been in. And I think it just, something shifted in me as far as like, I go to a job every day and I do this job, but like my purpose on this earth is to do something more than that. And I didn't feel fulfilled by someone else's goals. So I was like, okay, I want to do something that's helping people, that I can control myself, right? I have a sales and marketing background. And, I think a lot of things sort of started to come together. I never knew why it was clothing that I chose. I don't know. Just a lot of things didn't really click in my head until like 2 years into this. And I was like, it's really interesting that I'm doing this because it makes a lot of sense, but it didn't make any sense at the time. I think it's weird. I actually was at a conference. I told my husband I was going to quit my job. He asked me what I had bought. Did I give someone money? Have I paid? What's happening? Have I signed a lease? I was like, no, it's okay. I went to work the next Monday and he's like, well, where are you going to lease a space? Like, we need to find one. Walked out the door of my job. There was a for rent sign in this building. And I was like, ding, like it's happened. Like things just start coming together that you don't plan. And obviously nothing is easy. It's not like it came to me this easy. I'm talking about it because it just, this is how it went. But I think it didn't click for me until way later. I mean, now I feel like I have a real business. I've had a real business for 5 years, but now just things, I don't know, it all kind of comes together. And it's super weird when you feel that way, because for so long I felt like, what am I doing? This is not right. But like I was still doing it. So a lot of emotions and things there. But the only thing I will say about leaving a job to do something like this is if you don't have a business plan and you don't have what you're going to do, your goals, all of that set in motion, it can be a lot harder to get to things you think you want, but you really need to have a business plan and goals, because then it's just honestly can just become a hobby. And you can't really make money doing a hobby for a very long time. So yeah.
I bet coming out of your office and just seeing that sign and that like light bulb going off in your head is like, okay, this might be it, people.
It was a good price, so I had to go after it.
There we go. That's all the time we needed at the time. So Rachel, how did you determine that it was time for you to do it on your own instead of working for someone else?
Oh, I had no choice. I was forced to. I think this is what Asia was saying too, like the best thing ever happened. I got laid off. And in that job, I was happy, but I wasn't satisfied. And every time I'd ever like walked into an exciting store environment, a retail environment, I just got like exhilarated. So I thought, I love doing display. I love, the visual thrill of it. I love the service part of it. And I thought, like one day I'm going to do my own. So when the recession hit in 2006, 2007, everybody was caught by surprise, and I got laid off because nobody suddenly was buying $5,000 European down comforters anymore. So that's actually where I got my snobby taste in fabrics, was I worked in the textile industry. And the day I got laid off, I'll never forget this. I was I was excited. I said to the family that owned that business, because they were forced to lay a lot of people off. I said, thank you so much for this opportunity. I wish you guys the best. I hope you make it through this recession. I walked out, I called my mom, and I'm like, I'm free. I did it. I got laid off. I can collect unemployment now. And then I remember getting to the parking structure, getting in my car, just holding the steering wheel and just breaking down, crying like, oh my God, I don't have a savings cushion. I have a small mortgage now. How am I gonna? So honestly, like the moment that really forced me to sign that LLC paper and definitely, you know, do a legit business, like you said, the moment where I really decided like I have to do this, it was when I started putting my groceries on credit cards. And I realized, thankfully, because of the financial education that I had gotten from strong women in my life, I knew enough to know that that was not a sustainable thing. And I took an application for food assistance for the first time because it's such a hard thing to ask for help, right? Like it's just, people always joke like, oh, people are just lazy, they need help. No, like people to ask for help as human beings, it takes a lot of courage. And I honestly was too much of a coward to hand that piece of paper back in. And I thought, you know what? There are people out there who need this more than I do. I'm going to see what I can do to do this for myself. I'm going to go ahead and try that crazy idea of opening a store. And you know what? When that doesn't work, then I'll turn this food application back in. And I just never did. So I want people to really listen to what I'm saying, especially now when the world seems like it's ending. This is the time for opportunity. This is the time to really look deep. And if you are truly, you know, starting over in any way, whether it's emotionally, financially, physically, whatever it is, now can be a really amazing time of opportunity. This is when great things happen.
And there's always a way to kind of turn, even if it's not an easy process, turn a negative into being laid off into a positive. And it's not going to be an easy road, but sometimes that's, I love being able to take a dark moment and turning it into something light. So Asia, did you have a similar pathway to Rachel then, with determining that being an entrepreneur was the right pathway for you?
Yes, with a little more. So of course, you know, I was broke. I had like $3,000 left in my savings account. And it was like, do I pay my mortgage? Because, you know, this 2010 when Detroit was like going through the worst, like we was at the bottom. So I started my construction company right in the middle of the recession. And so I used that $3,000 and I was like, do I pay my mortgage or do I go get this builder's license? I was like, I'm going to get this license. So God, whatever we about to do, we about to see how this play on out. And I went and got my license, and that was the best thing I ever did. Now, I'm not advocating that you shouldn't pay your bills, but it was either pay them bills or get my license. So I went and got my license. And I remember calling my mom. I was like, Mom, I got to come back home. She's like, baby, just come on. Don't worry about nothing. I'm like, cool. Once Mama gave me that okay, I was like, forget this mortgage. I went on, called, paid for that license, and that was that. And the other thing that really mattered to me was my time, because at the time, you know, I have a lot of seniors in my family, a lot of elders. So I wanted all that time that I could get with them. Because with me working on the highway, I'm working 12, 16-hour days, 7 days a week. You know, I'm younger. I'm like 25, 26, but I want to hang out with my family. They going on vacations. I can't go because I'm on the lives. You know what I'm saying? So like, I started getting mad. I'm like, man, forget this. So like, I want my time back. And then another thing was that as my family ages, I wanted to be able to provide them the best care that I possibly could pay for, because unfortunately, money determines how they take care of people. It really does. And I was like, and if I have to pay for in-home care and put a person like personally on my company payroll, I want to be able to do that. So that's really what that was like my why, so to speak. So that's what kept me going.
And feeling that feeling of being unfulfilled or being unhappy, similar to how Laura did at her job, and you working those long shifts. My family's really close-knit as well. So when I was living out of town, I was getting that feeling of missing out on them, like all that family memories and stuff. So I totally understand that feeling. Absolutely. And that's why being an entrepreneur, like from what I know from my entrepreneur friends, can be very hectic at times. So how do you find the balance? Amy, how do you maintain life balance, seeing family and friends, but also staying focused on the long-term health of your company?
Truth be told, I haven't figured it out yet. I don't even understand this word that starts the B in balance. Like, you know what it is? And truth, this is in all honesty, is like, I kind of look at things in a longer perspective. You cannot judge yourself on a day. Especially like juggling family. Like I'm a mom, I'm trying to be a decent wife, I'm trying to run a business, I'm trying to be good to my employees. Some days I'm a kick-ass CEO and I'm a crappy mom, or, you know, maybe not the best wife. Other days I'm a really good mom and maybe I could have stayed a little later at work. And you just have to be patient with yourself, because at the end of a month, let's say, or whatever your window is, can you go to bed at night and be like, I did the best I could, and be comfortable with whatever that is? Because otherwise you can be your harshest critic and really, really beat yourself up. And so I think I'm a work in progress, and let me just be truthful about that. And we're trying to scale a business. And I mean, my gosh, put a business like ours, you know, like, well, everybody's, we're going through it right now in a pandemic. And when we legally had to shut down, like so many of the panelists here, you know, our priority is, yes, your family and your health and taking care of that. But for us also, like, my priority is taking care of the women we serve. How do I make sure they are okay? That is my number one concern right now. And how do we make sure their wages are covered? How do we make sure that they have access to computers so that there are no resources that they don't have access to? And, you know, I think this has been even more of a challenging time. So again, just going back to, like, give it your all, be comfortable with what you accomplish, and be kind and loving to yourself.
And Amy, I think that's okay to not have it figured out, as long as you continue to work on it. Like, just like everything in life is work in progress. So Laura,
and I really miss hugs. I know that is my therapy. I miss them so much. I am an aggressive hugger. It is it is how I connect with people. It is, so like, from that's something that I miss as part of my balance, part of my, like, overall well-being. Q, I'm receiving it. I am loving that hug right now. I do feel it. And so that's also been a challenging time, because I realize now even more so how much that stuff kind of checks me and keeps me in balance, and feeling that energy from other people. So that's also been something just to work through.
You are not alone. I see people in the chat saying they miss hugging. So we are all sending you virtual hugs right now.
I feel them all. Thank you.
Laura, what do you do? I know you mentioned having a husband. I think we've got some fur babies as well. How do you maintain life balance and focusing on your business?
You know, it's interesting. I think, honestly, having team members and being able to employ people, I mean, that is, at some point you like, oh my God, I cannot physically do all of this stuff. Like, it just becomes so much. And, you know, telling myself, like, you are not going to work one day this week. Okay, self, like, shut the computer, go to Q, let her give you some food, go shop at one of your friend's stores, go, like, buy some White Claw and, like, sit outside, like, just whatever it is that you need to do. Like, even honestly, the funniest thing happened. I'm like, can I just, like, drive to, like, I don't even care, down the street, like, look at something else, like, anything that will help to give you a different, you know, scenery, whatever. Like, even if it doesn't need to be, like, I mean, I could go for a beach vacation, let's be real, like, a lot of or any, let's be real, I don't even care. I go to Ohio. Like, that's how desperate I am for a vacation at this point. But I think it's just, like, I finally had to be like, you will burn yourself out, and that's not fair. You can't be, I put so much pressure on myself, and that's a self thing I've done my whole life. I have to be this, I have to be that. Like, you don't have to be anything. You have to be healthy, first of all, because you have to run this business and be 100% or whatever percent in other aspects of your life. So I've had to force myself a lot. And my friends, they're like, I bought you a massage, go tomorrow at 4. I'm like, okay, yay. Like, that's just super nice, because people, they see it, you know. I think your family and friends, they start to see just how much you're working, and it just kind of consumes you if you let it. And I will let myself be consumed by it. So yeah, I don't know. I think it all just sort of has evolved in the littlest things, like sitting down at a coffee shop and getting a coffee and not talking, or being on my phone or my computer and just drinking a coffee for 30 minutes and not being like, to me, that makes me happy. And I feel self-care from that and like a little bit of balance. So yeah, I mean, I could have gone on about how I don't self-care. So I'm getting better. It's getting there.
And Laura, I'm the same way. I'm really hard on myself. So while I try to do better, I think it's really good that you have a family and a community around you who's like, you need to pause, go get this massage. Like sometimes we need to have other people stop us in our tracks and be like, take care of yourself. So I love that you have that. Q, what about you? How do you maintain life balance and business?
First off, I was going to say, what is that exactly? First off, I had to learn, because I overconsume in everything, because I don't know how to not give 100%. Like, I don't know how to not give 200%, like in Jesus' name. Like, the Lord knows the way I'm set up. It's just not, I have to literally, I created a day in my book because I am a mom, I'm a wife, I got 3 kids, 18, 20, and 12. And I work. I work. Literally, I work my job until the day I quit a month before my business opened, right? And then I didn't know how to stop. So the only thing that I could do was, okay, you got to put some stops in play. So like now I have it where I make a D&D day. D&D day means do not disturb, because like we're all women here. It might not be women everywhere on this call, but like as women, when you're mom, like just because you start a business or because you become a wife or because you have a kid, you can't lose yourself, because you yourself matters. But that's what we do, because whether I'm a fur mom or a human mom, like we want to take care of everybody because we're nurturers. So I had to hard stop, give myself a D&D day. So like people know on Mondays, it is a D&D day. Do not disturb. It's for my husband. It's for my kids. Are you hungry? Figure it out. The world will not end because I'm not available. Shut your mouth. Go sit down. Go talk to your dad. Go to your grandma. Go somewhere else. How did you make it before I got here, husband? I need you to channel that energy, because today is not that day. Okay? And that is honest to goodness truth. I have to keep it 100. But I had to learn how to get there. And I just turned 42. Honey, 42 brain is a great place to be, saints. We will march in, and I tell people all the time, like, you have to make time for yourself, because we lose ourselves. Like women, we do. I don't think that, like, and this is not the man or women bash, but like, men are not created how we are. Like nobody's saying, make sure dinner's fed, make sure the kids are reading, make sure they're doing it. And God bless the moms who are stay-at-home moms now, who have to homeschool. God bless. I would be horrible right now if I had to homeschool a child. I can't homeschool myself right now. Okay? My lunch I haven't even eaten today. Okay? So you have to find time. If I were to tell anybody, D&D, do not disturb. That's for kids, family, friends, my email, for business, because I think we think the world is going to end. The world will keep going. Do you think the world's going to stop because you died? No. So take time for yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of anybody else? You can't, Saint. I'm telling you. So take the time, D&D day. I'll try to email that for.
Because if you're not working on yourself or giving yourself that time, every other role you play in life, as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, as a whatever, that's going to eventually break down as well. So you've got to give. I'm going to start giving myself D&D.
It's psycho out here. Like D&D days are real. And do it to your emails. Like tell the people that email you. Mm-hmm.
Yep, you see it. Everyone holds me to it. Saturdays are my new D&D day.
Do not disturb.
Do not disturb. So let's really get into it for a second, because there are some industries, Asia, like construction, which you're in, that are male dominated. So Asia, as a woman in a male dominated field, what has been the greatest challenge for you as a woman entrepreneur?
Oh boy. I get asked that a lot. So now I don't have these problems because people, okay, so let me back up. So when I first started, it was controlling my emotions, because us women, especially when it's that time of the month, I don't want you to talk to me, don't look at me, don't ask me nothing. get out of my face unless you come with brownies because I like chocolate. So after that, like I started, you know, controlling my emotions a little bit better. My family is amazing. Like they keep me grounded. Like how Q has her D&D day. My family, we're big on family time. Like we had fish fry Friday and tunk night and spades night. Like we have all of that before the pandemic hit. So it's like we over here feeling like we about to just sit outside and social distance or something because we need our family time. So for me, as a woman, like, you know, of course I'm in a male dominated field. I can count how many women clients I've dealt with. So the thing, I realized that men are kind of like more emotional than women in a way, because they're like big babies. And it's like, even though you're my client, like, bro, wait a minute. I don't need to know all of your life story. I don't care nothing about you and your wife or your girlfriend. Like, that has nothing to do with what color paint do you want me to put on this wall. And it's like, I'm serious. This stuff happens to me and people don't believe it until like I send them an email or the screenshot. Like, I told y'all, like, this is what happened. So like now I can control my emotions way better. I have to stay out my feelings a lot because it's really just business. And like some clients have become like really good friends over the years, and some, you know, it's just business and that's that. But for me, I say being a woman in construction is like you're tested more because a lot of people don't think you know what you're talking about, especially when I first started. But now I got, you know, almost 10 years in. I got this engineering background and I come from a construction family. So when I started talking and they actually see that I can do the job too, as well as direct the project, you know, I get, you know, a lot more respect. So I'm kind of hot out here in these Detroit streets right now in a good way.
Tell them. Let the work speak for itself.
Exactly.
Rachel, what about you? What has been the greatest challenge for you as a female entrepreneur?
Myself, like I am my biggest obstacle for sure. You know, kind of like what Laura was saying earlier, you know, I've been doing this for a couple of years now. I guess like I'm actually doing this thing and I'm good at it. And I think we often sometimes struggle with imposter syndrome. You know, for all the talk of, you know, woman empowerment, female empowerment, I think we still limit ourselves. I think we've been conditioned to expect less out of life. And I think that sometimes we tell ourselves that we're not capable of doing something because we haven't done something. I always joke, you know, like I just want the confidence of a mediocre white guy sometimes. Like they think they can do anything regardless of what their training or education or experience is. They just go in it. And you know, I think that we women, we need to have that confidence in ourselves. Like just because you haven't done it before, like there's a first time for everything. So I think it's really, I think that I get in my way a lot. Yeah, I get the typical like mansplaining. I'll never forget, I was showing my childhood best friend, her dad came to the store. So this was kind of like, you know, my uncle growing up. He came to the new store, this was a couple of years ago. So I had already been in business for 8 years at that point. In business for 8 years, past the $1 million mark. And this man toured this magnificent, historic 1920s, you know, boutique that I had restored lovingly. And I'm feeling like all proud of my accomplishments. And I'm like, wow, like he knew me back when I was like this tall. And he said something that made me feel kind of small. And he's like, let me teach you how to greet customers. And I was just stunned. I didn't know what to say. And like I was just very stunned. And it just kind of reminded me like, you know what, no matter what accomplishments you have under your belt, some people just see you as a little lady who's just starting out in the world. And that's okay because you know yourself, you know your heart, you know your accomplishments, but sometimes it can take the wind out of your sails a little bit. Now I just learned to kind of shrug and be like, that's so cute that they think that. They totally underestimated me. And then you just keep going and putting one foot in front of the other. So that's it.
And Rachel, that's just like what Asia was getting at and letting the work speak for itself. Like you're trying to explain something to me that I've been doing for years. Go, yep, you just have it. Go ahead. Q, what about the restaurant industry? What has been the greatest challenge for you?
My real honest to goodness truth, when you're in the restaurant industry, they assume you're in the restaurant industry because you went to culinary school. Hi, I'm Q. I did not go to culinary school. I graduated from Google University. God in heaven told me I was going to be the chef, and that's who I follow. Those are the directions I follow. So a lot of people at first didn't necessarily want to, they don't want to necessarily mess with you because you don't have the credentials. Well, welcome to 2020 where we're breaking every law of credentials. So for me, I think probably the hardest thing is just learning. When I wanted to open up the kitchen was initially only supposed to be a live demonstration kitchen. I did cooking classes. I worked my job. I went on lunch. I went and did cooking classes at different corporations because corporations got discounts and you teach their team members how to eat better. So they got a discount on their health insurance. That's what I did. Everybody wanted to know how, show me. And then when I, take all this time, it takes 5 years to build this idea that's in my head, get it in from paper to a brick and mortar. And then people are knocking on your door telling you to give you that you should serve food. We know your food is good. Why can't you serve food? Well, I'm not a restaurant. God has a funny sense of humor when you're like, I'm not a restaurant. I do cooking classes. And they're like, yo, no, that's not really, we hungry out here in Midtown. What we gonna eat? And you get hundreds of people knocking on your door every day. And then in like 3 weeks, you have to be like, okay, so we're going to open for lunch. And you literally just pivot to figure out, first off, I'm sick of the word pivot, but I'm just going to, but that's what it was. You have to just be okay with like what the clients want. Give the people what they want because I'm not my client. Even as a restaurant, like people like when we decided to become a restaurant, well, nobody's going to want to eat healthy. Nobody's going to want to eat healthy all the time. And I'm like, that's a lie. I'm pretty sure God would make me spend $614,000 to build this out for nobody to come and eat in the name of Jesus. Okay. So I'm sorry. I'm honest, y'all. This is where I live at right here. This is where I live right here. But that's the thing, to get people to be okay with like, that was a big deal for me. Just knowing what people are going to want. And then knowing like everybody has different taste buds. Like, am I going to put someone on the menu and they're not going to like it? I have to be okay with like trial and error. Like, I'm gonna throw this out here and they either gonna like it or they not gonna like it. Who wants a vegan fish sandwich? Who's gonna want a okay, yeah burger? Like, they're not gonna like your names. Like, those are the things, because you get noise from any and everywhere, but you actually have to like be courageous and like have balls and just do it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's probably the most complicated thing, figuring out how to change when you don't even. I'm not a restaurant. That's the funniest thing I told everybody. Laura, how many times you hear me say that? Like, no, we're not a restaurant. We're a demonstration kitchen. And then God was like, girl, shut your mouth and get in that kitchen and cook something to eat because the people are hungry. Teach these people how to eat to live. And then I just shut my mouth.
It took the path that was built for you, made for you.
Amen. Amen. Say.
So I'm sure there are some misconceptions around being an entrepreneur. So Amy, based on your experience as a leader in this space, what's the biggest misnomer to business ownership you've heard?
I think my favorite one, my personal favorite, is that going into business for yourself, you'll have so much free time. That, like, I laugh my ass off when I hear people say that. Like, stay with your job, stick with your job. You're gonna love that 9 to 5 because it is anything but having a lot of free time, because it's all you think about. It's eat, sleep, breathe your business. You're the one that has to put out the fires. You're the one who has to keep it going. You're it, like, at least for a very foreseeable future. And that one, I think, is the biggest misconception about going into business. But on the flip side of that, I worked a job before where it was a ton of hours, and taking this leap. I work more now. I cry so much more. I sleep a lot less. But I have never been happier. So I love what I'm doing. I'm so passionate about the work we're doing. I truly love like working with women and empowering women. I have all women-owned, women-run, women-employed company, and I come from a heavily male-dominated world in sports. So this, if you're able to get through it and like know that you're not gonna have free time, you can really do something that you want to do.
So I guess everyone, if you're thinking of leaving that 9 to 5, don't think you're going to have more free time.
Nope.
Laura, what about you? What have you heard? What's the biggest misnomer to owning your own business?
Well, for one, I think it's interesting because being an entrepreneur seems to be like a trending popular thing in the last few years, which is, I don't know, it can be a good or a bad thing depending on the person, because I don't think it's for everybody, because it really takes a thick skin to be able to deal with a lot of the things that happen. But my favorite thing ever is how much money I have. I just have hundreds of thousands of dollars in bank account. I mean, I love that. Like it's when you realize what the cost of doing business actually is. It's like, wait, what's happening? Oh, so my bank account, cool. Let's just leave that there for a couple more days because this is about to go down real far. Like when you get into brick and mortar and redoing, renovating buildings and, inventory and the cost of everything, payroll, I mean, it is a large expense. And managing those expenses and being able to continue staying in business and not owing anybody money and not being in a crap ton of debt takes a lot of, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, do I owe someone money? What's happening? Like, just, you just think these things and you're like, oh wait, I really need to, you really know when you're like, it's breathing from your body when that happens to you. But you can make a lot of money. Yes, that is true. You can make a lot of money doing anything, obviously, right? But I think that it's just perceptions, like social media. Instagram gives a perception to people that, oh my God, you have 100,000 followers. You're a millionaire. I mean, those things don't correlate. And I think that there is a really bad misconception with that. And you talk to any of us and we're like, yeah, okay. Like if I was a millionaire right now, do you think I would still be doing this like day to day? Like, no, yeah, but that's the number one thing for sure.
Laura, you should have told us you were a millionaire. Come on.
I'll pick you up on my private jet, aka my
Thank you. Yeah, let's go to a beach. We deserve. Rachel, what have you heard? What's the biggest misnomer?
Oh, I think that Laura really started to hit the nail on the head mentioning Instagram. Like, I meet so many people who are like, I've got this many followers. And it's like, all right, but how did you monetize that? Like, congratulations, you know how to use a cute filter and wear makeup really well, but like, do you make your business sustainable? Are you doing the work? I think because of all the work that a lot of small business owners put into their, empires, no matter how big that empire is, we make it look so easy that the biggest misconception, I think, is that it's easy. It doesn't require doing the work. So I think that that's something really important for people to hear. Do not, look at other measures of success as your own. Like I keep throwing out this, I hit $1 million in revenue. That is not profit. Like there are differences, you have to really, I think there are misconceptions because of financial literacy, really knowing what numbers mean. And again, numbers aren't everything in a business. Like you need to be satisfied and fulfilled with other things. But I do think that there are a lot of misconceptions about what success looks like, and like Laura said, like appearances can be very deceiving. I know people that pull in a ton of revenue and they're going bankrupt, or they're still, closing their businesses. Or I know people that don't have a lot of revenue, but they live like paupers and they save every penny and they reinvest everything back into their business and they drive a beater car. And I consider those people successful business people. So, for people who are living that life out there on Instagram with their designer handbags and all this and that, like, don't get trapped in that. That's a really great way to become over materialistic and suck all the money out of your business and not be successful. But I think that there is this definite expectation that if you open a business, you're going to make all this money. One of the most important and realist things that anyone had said to me that I didn't believe when they said it, but I realized that this was true. You think of every expense that you can possibly think of opening a business, and you double that number. You double the number of what you think it's going to take to get started. And that's a very realistic thing, I think, to think about.
And Rachel, I'm really happy you said this, because this is something I have to tell myself all the time, not to measure my success to someone else's. Like when we were speaking earlier, what success looked like for you when you were first getting started, like that has changed. So if you're just getting started, don't measure your success to someone who's been in the game doing this for 10 years. I'm so happy you said that, because yeah, I have to tell myself that all the time. So we've talked a bit about everyone's path, the challenges, misconceptions, but now let's talk about the rewards of the work. Asia, what do you believe has been the key to your success?
For me, I think the key to my success has been being patient. Definitely be able to have a vision and be able to see, you know, years down the line and see way further than where you are right now, because that really is what, you know, keeps me going. And definitely my family. Like, my family has been amazing. I read a lot of posts about how people out here by themselves and they don't have the support. I just remember telling my family what I want to do, and they was like, all right, let's get to it. And that was that. Like, if you gonna do this, you gonna give it your all, you gonna do your best, because we ain't no losers. Like, my family is very competitive. Like, we're competitive. Like, when we had game night, it's going down on the Monopoly, everything. Like, so like, being competitive like that in family, it really helped me with my business, because like, if I can't be the best at what I do, I don't need to do it. And so I think that's what really, like, that helps me and keeps me focused and keep me grounded. Like, I see, you know, 10 years from now, and I saw 10 years from when I first started. So I think that's what really helps me is my family, for sure. Like, 'cause they awesome. Like, I love them.
And family is so key. I feel the exact same way. So everyone, Asia actually has another event to go to. Like I said, the life of an entrepreneur never stops. But Asia, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and being a part of our panel. It would not have been the same without your insights. So again, thank you so much, and have an amazing, great event. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank everybody as well. And I hope you all have a great day and stay safe.
Yes, stay safe. So Q, what do you believe has been the key to your success?
Honesty, like being honest with myself and being honest with everybody around me, because I am not a fake image. I don't have any fictitious images for anybody. Like, this is real life, and I keep it 100 with everybody I come in contact with. And I also believe that sharing information, I don't believe that God put me here to keep it all to myself. When I first got into trying to do all this, like, people don't want to share information with you because everybody thinks like, well, you're going to get on before me, when the reality is like, why can't we get on together? Like, what's the big deal? Like, why can't we do it together? So I think I'm honest. I'm not gonna lie to anybody about anything, because, you know, it's not gonna get me anywhere. And if I need help, I'm gonna ask for help. If I don't know the answer to it, I'm gonna go to somebody else who probably already has the answer. So for me, and you know, you can reevaluate what success looks like to you all the time. Like, it's not just one level. Like, I give myself small goals, and when I have a never ending checklist, and I feel like I was just sitting here talking about, like, this checklist is never ending. Like, it's like a never ending story. But where I worked before, I did mortgages before this at United Shore. And when I did mortgages, I would talk to the CEO. He's super cool. He's still my mentor right now. If I have a question, I would ask. My biggest thing for him was like, bro, how do you keep this going? He's like, it doesn't matter how much stuff needs to get done. You pick 3 things. You do those 3 things in a day. As long as you get those 3 things done, you did good, right? So for me, my reevaluation of success every day is, what 3 things did I get accomplished today? If I have a list of 10,000 things to get done, did I knock 3 things off? I can't do everything. I may feel like I can. It may look like I can. In an imagination, I might even do it. But like in real life, like, I got 3 things. That's 3 things at work. That's 3 things that might be being a parent. That might be 3 things for being a husband. But that's me being honest. Like, whether it's to my kids, like, hey, I want to sit and chat with you right now. But the fact that somebody's got to pay your tuition, it's not going to get done if I sit here and play right now. So you might want to let us think work. You know, husband, I love you to life, but I need you to go away. I don't have time to, you know, I can't right now. But it's just honest. Like, I feel like that's probably the best thing. Like, you have to be able to be real with yourself, because people who are fakers, like, they can't keep that mess up. They can't. And I'm real to the people that I want. Like, I don't want customers because I want to be a billionaire or I want to be a millionaire. Like, I don't care. The money's going to come. I don't care. My biggest thing is, people don't know how to eat healthy. How do I show them? That's what God put me here to do. And I stay on my path. I'm not trying to get in everybody else's business or in nobody else's lane. I'm my own lane. So just be honest. That's it.
And because everyone has their own lane, like you were saying earlier, there's enough space for all of us to win. So being humble and willing,
yes.
exactly, like being humble and being willing to share your tips, share your secrets, like everyone can eat. There's enough success for us to all win together.
Literally. We
Literally.
can all win. It's not even that. It's not even hard. One win. If I go, who cares who goes first? Like, I think that's the thing. Like, we have this whole thing. Like, I got to be first. No, I just got to be cute. Like, I don't really care about what you're talking about. Like, I don't have to be first. Like, I don't. There's 50,000 people that have restaurants. Well, I'm not in competition with you. My competition is myself. Period.
Exactly.
Like, and that's it. So who cares about being first? Like, let's just figure out how to get it.
Exactly. Rachel, what has been your key to success?
Yeah, by the way, with what you were just saying, I always like to say, you don't need a bigger piece of the pie. You can just bake another pie. We can all have pie. There's enough pie. Pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie, apple pie, cherry pie. I would say the key to my success is doing what I really, really love doing, because it doesn't matter what happens with the business. It means that I feel like I have a secret. I feel like I don't work anymore, because I don't consider what I do working. I just consider it just being me. Like, I love helping people. I love dressing women. I love making them feel happy and confident. I love traveling and feeding my brain creatively. I love looking at architecture in the city. I love learning history. I love, like, just combining all that into a product at the end of the day that people love and it makes them happy. So I think my key to success is I've defined what my idea of success is, and it's just being me. And if you are authentically you, that draws people to you because you are your own person, you're unique, you're interesting. And I think that, like, that's also the best lesson in branding, is just be your authentic self. So if you're being yourself and you're being happy, there isn't really much else to success. Again, your spreadsheet can go any which way, but if you really view success as just you being fulfilled, then that's your special sauce. And I also think it's worth noting that, and I love how Q and I were talking the other day about, like, if someone mentions the word pivot one more time, but in this environment where everything's changing and innovating and getting creative, and it's also okay just to stick to a traditional business formula. Like, I learned, the retail trade from ladies who retired from Jacobson's, and, buyers that have been doing this for a long time, and visual merchandisers who have been doing it for a long time. So I think it's also okay, as you're seeking success in your field, in your industry, it's okay also to stick to a traditional formula, and I think that that's worth saying.
And that ties back to, Rich, what you said about being authentic ties back to what Q was saying about being honest. Like, just be real with yourself and be who you are, because if you try to be anything else, you're not gonna be able to maintain it, like Q said. Amy, what do you believe has been the key to your success?
I think persistence, patience, and, like, partnerships. I think going, like, from persistence thing, if I gave up every time I got a no, I would have gone out of business a long time ago. And my staff always, like, they make fun of me. They're like, oh, okay, we'd get another client, and they're like, oh, she annoyed him into submission again. But I mean, I think, you just keep your eye on the prize. One no, just maybe you need to tweak it, revisit it. And I'll sometimes say to this person, okay, thank you for your feedback. I'll follow back up in a few months and maybe come at it from a different angle if you really want something. I think, but just having, again, going back to, like, having patience with yourself. This is not easy. It is not for the faint of heart. Someone told me this too, that the woman's never put on top of the mountain, right? Nobody's ever just put on top of the mountain. You got to climb there, and you're going to go up and down, and you got to get acclimated, and you got, go back down, go back up. And so just, it's a game of patience and, partnerships. I agree wholeheartedly with Q and Rachel, like, a rising tide rises all boats. I'm a big believer of that. I'm a big believer of, like, even getting as many women business owners together as possible. Like, I really love it. I like doing it. And having that mentality is helpful. There is plenty of room for all of us to succeed. There's more than enough. And just having that, I think if you have such an isolated, narrow-minded, it's all about me, it won't work out.
So persistency and patience, that's good to remember, to keep the 2 P's in mind. Laura, what about you? What has been your key to success?
I think really staying in one lane has been successful. A lot of people, you start a business and then you have this idea and you want to do this thing, and then you get this idea and you want to start something else. And I mean, you're only one person and there's only so many hours in the day. And I think when you start to realize, like, okay, look, we need to focus on, you know, 1 or 2 of these lanes. I've stayed in one lane. And I think that that's just been, you know, you learn things, you make mistakes, stuff happens, you keep going, you learn from what mistakes you've made, you try to focus on getting better, just focusing on the things that you've maybe, like, I've overbought before at trade shows, and then I'm like, well, here I am with all this extra inventory, like, you know, I got to do something about this. And maybe if I had a better plan and for buying and all that stuff. So I think a lot of it just, it's so interesting too, because you have so much trial and error that you, like, almost don't realize you're going to have, like, you're never going to have the perfect, you know, recipe and everything's going to go great. But I think it just depends on, like, I don't know, I have a lot of gut feelings about things sometimes, and I'm like, that's weird. Like, I had a gut feeling that wasn't going to work out and it didn't. Or, hey, I really should have listened to my gut and been like, oh yeah, you thought of this before. Like, so I do a lot of, like, in my phone, I keep notes, and I will, like, if I have an idea, I'll, like, write it down, because I'll be driving or in the shower or, like, things like that where I'm like, I can't, like, write this down. But I try to remember to write things down, because then when I go back to it, then I'm like, okay, that helps me keep on this same path without getting, like, so far off. I don't know though. I like what Q said at the beginning with, like, simple wins and small things that just, like, you get excited about. I've had something happen, and, like, 2 years later, something will come full circle, and I'm like, cool. Like, I'm happy about that. But it's like this, it's like the silliest thing ever, but it's like, it just, you get closure in weird ways on certain things that, I don't know. It just all kind of flows together. I mean, I think having a good accountant makes you successful. Having a good, you know, attorney can make, like, there's so many things that you also need to outsource and not try to do yourself, because you can get into trouble. It just, I think that it's really helpful though. If you try to do too much, that's when it can up and you're burnt out.
And there's no need to try to do it all, because there's other people do that stuff for us. So why not utilize the resources we have around us? So I do have one more question for our panelists, but before we get to it, I want to open the floor to look at our Q&A chat. And we've already got some questions in there, so let's just get right to it. Amy, the first one is for you. We have a question from Mary Bishop. She says, Amy mentioned not judging yourself on any one day, which I love. How about the tough weeks or months when you aren't seeing fruits of your labor, regardless of your dedication, effort, and passion? How do you persevere?
It's a fantastic question. And one of the things that I'm getting better at is never making any decision at night. Always sleep on it. And I'm a you know, spitfire, like to move, like make decisions, move on, like, but major decisions or things that are really frustrating me, I'm trying to do a better job of not reacting to those. Sleep on it. You're so much more level-headed in the morning. And sometimes those are really hard nights to go to sleep, but I do find that I'm always better in the morning and feel a little bit more motivated. Put a D&D sign on your door. Q's gonna start selling them, and just give your brain some time to process everything that's happening, because it's a lot. There are days, oh my God, if I had $1 for every day when I was like, yep, well, shut her down, the hell of a run, really glad I did it. I'd be making more money now or with that scenario than I do now. But you look for those silver linings, you pause, and again, Q, you're chock full of good advice, but like celebrating those little wins. I've started creating a notes app, or just with notes on my phone, of taking a few moments a week and saying, what have I accomplished this week that was really positive for me or the business? And maybe when you're having a really tough time, that's when you go back and you reflect on like, okay, these were really solid moments. Is any of that appearing now? Because if you're like me, you can really sink your teeth into something that's aggravating you, and that's all you can think of. Try and give your brain a little release. And then if it's just bothering you beyond a month, I mean, certainly, and also, God, rely on your friends, rely on people. Go get a coffee with somebody, just talk. Like, we are all here to help others. Like, and Rachel has been an amazing mentor for me my whole journey. Like, even when I was starting this business, and how many times I took her to breakfast just to pick her brain or just to vent, and we've done that for each other. But that's critical. Like, you need people to rely on, you need a support system. And if you don't have one, I am here for you. Just let me know.
I love that. See, this family thing that we're talking about, it is real. This is a community. We are a network. Rachel, I've got a question for you. So when starting out, did you rely on word of mouth for your customers, or did you spend a bit of your budget to market or promote your business?
That's a really great question, because I think that people just assume that people will find you. Definitely leverage all your friends and family. I personally started the Peacock Room with just a free Facebook page. And if you know me, you know that, like, technology wise, I'm like 86 years old, and I had to borrow a computer for this. Like, it's just, so if I can do it, you can do it. I'm pretty self-taught with social media, but I started out with a Facebook page. Do not use your personal page as your business page. You're going to make sure all your friends and family tune you out, because they don't want to hear about your dress sale this week. So create a proper page for your business. Eventually, like, I did throw a few dollars at Facebook marketing, but really not a lot. And it's not something I've done probably in, I don't know, 6 months or so. Leverage your friends and family. And if you are going to talk about your business on your personal pages, be clear. Like, I own the Peacock Room, Frida and Yama. Like, I see people post things like, I'm at the shop today, stop in. Like, what shop? What do you sell? What's the address? So make sure, like, use these tools. There are free tools out there for you to use. Yes, you can throw some paid advertising, but I would say just start organically and see where you can go. I also, again, maybe this is like the old school political organizer in me, I printed up postcards at first. I dropped them in important neighborhood businesses that I felt were like on brand with me. So like, coffee shops in Southwest Detroit, or, I didn't want to go to other clothing boutiques. I didn't want to encroach on their business, but like, find complementary foot traffic businesses, talk to the people who work the front counter and say like, hey, I'm your neighbor. I'd really love for you to put these out. Thank you so much. Can I take some and put yours out at my store? So build those alliances with people, and cross marketing is really just such a great way to go, especially when it's done very sincerely and strategically.
That's another testament to how important having a community is. Laura, the next question is for you. You mentioned about staying in one lane. How did you go about determining the best lane for you when there are multiple lane possibilities going around in your head when you got started?
So I think I meant that that answer, or that the talking about staying in your lane as a key to success. Once you get open and you're in business, a lot of people come in. So example, people come in and they're like, you should open a kid's store. You should carry maternity clothes. You should carry men's clothes. You should just be Macy's. Like, you get all of this feedback, and you just need to take it as feedback, and not tomorrow I'm going to go look for a space for a kid's store. And then because it's just not, I think I took some of it a little bit too literally at times. And I think just continuing, that's nice that people are complimenting you, right? They think you're buying great stuff. They love coming in. They think you have good taste. They think you have a good eye. Like that's what I should have gleaned from those compliments and that feedback, not quite literally go open another store in another category that's extremely, maybe just a lot more, that you don't know. So like if you're, it's the same thing with Q. If somebody walked in tomorrow and was like, you should open a steakhouse. Okay, well, we better just get going and get downtown and see if we can get a spot. I mean, it's just, I think when you have a business plan and you have goals and you have, especially in brick and mortar, you have bills to pay, there's a lot of expenses, to just start thinking of other ideas because one person mentioned it is not, people don't understand business the way you do when you're in business. So I should have taken it more of a compliment, like, thank you, I appreciate the feedback. That's just not something that we're in. We're going to stay in the women's clothing lane. But I think when you start too, I know a lot of people get very broad ideas. And then once, honestly, working with a business consultant, I'm going to give a shout out to the Small Business Development Center because they've helped me out a lot. It's a free resource in Michigan. They're in a lot of different cities. If you go to, it's SBDC Michigan, I believe, they can help you out. But I mean, to get someone to sit with you, go through your business plan, help you define what you're looking for, it's a lot better than sinking a bunch of money into something that you then might, not go through with. So the cost is high. So you can just, maybe ideas are better, get them out with a consultant and have someone help you.
So I guess a Fern Steakhouse is not on the way. Is that what you're telling us?
However, I do like steak. So if y'all want to go to eat, I'm cool, but we're not opening a steakhouse.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. We only have a few minutes left, so we will have to let that be our last Q&A question. So for a few parting thoughts, I do have one last panelist question. So we've been talking about the whole community aspect, how we're like a family. I mean, Laura and Q, they literally share a wall in between their businesses. So really briefly, I just want to ask each of you, how do you support other women entrepreneurs? Like, how are you pouring back into the woman entrepreneur community and uplifting it? Let's shoot it to Q first.
Okay, so my first thought process is I love to support my folks. Like Laura's next to me, so like it's like the Jay-Z quote, like I'm not about to go buy some Dolce & Gabbana when I'm right next door to Laura. Like I can get some from, I'm modeling Fern Boutique right now. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna spend money, she spends money with me. Listen, I buy Rebel Nail from Laura because Laura has her stuff in her store. Like I have my sweet potatoes come from Sweet Potato. I shop with the people that are around and then they shop with me. It's like, it's the circle of life. It's the circle of life. Holding it down. Like that's my thing. I look for people to be able to work with. Like because we can all, I find it's called making it a mutually beneficial relationship. I got something that could be beneficial to you. You got something that could be beneficial to me. My clientele are different than your clientele. I know who I'm marketing to. She knows who she's marketing to, but like we can intertwine. If I'm on Fox 2, I'm wearing Laura's clothes. Like they know, like you see her, you see me. Okay. Laura says she's eating. She's probably eating at the kitchen, but like, we're not ashamed of it. Like we're open to knowing like we're family. You can be down with the family too. I think that's what people need to do. Like I would support any woman-owned business in Detroit, almost anywhere, because I just think we're bomb.com anyway. But like women-owned businesses in Detroit, like I'm down to support, especially if it's something that's doing something for the community. Like I feel like that's what we all work to do.
And that's just like paying it forward because you know it's going to come back.
Yeah.
Laura, what about you?
It's like a singing circus, and it's so great. Not in a bad way, a great way. So first of all, I wanted to say that, you can share someone's social media post for no money, right? It doesn't cost you any money to go hit that airplane button and add it to your story on your personal page. I mean, it just makes people feel good. They see that someone has shared their recent post and that makes them feel good. And I know when people share my stuff, I'm like, oh, that's so nice. Like I get like excited about it. which to me, that's the social media thing can be super helpful if we all, I see it all the time and I love it. The second thing, and Amy deserves the shout out, loud and proud, we should get an airplane billboard going through the sky. Amy started a awesome get together for women entrepreneurs. Was it last summer? I think like in the summertime. She invited us to her beautiful house and told us to bring someone, and she just wanted to like hang out and talk and like drink wine or water, eat some food, whatever, cry about your whatever, just have a great time. I mean, it was like so many things are so networking focused, and I believe in networking 1,000,000,000% to the day I die. I will always believe in that. But the whole just like, hey guys, today was shitty. Like, let's talk about this. Or, hey guys, I had an awesome day, or this happened, or I signed a contract, whatever. That's like what we need. And it's everybody, like anybody's invited. And there were people there that I was like starstruck. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't met Ping from Marrow. She's right there. I'm going to have a heart attack. It was so cool. And she's still doing them. There was a virtual one a few months ago, I think during quarantine. And it makes me happy because Detroit is successful because people support each other. This is not like this in other cities. I know it firsthand. I have a store in another city and it can be very competitive, and it's very cool and collaborative, and it makes me happy. So thank you, Amy. We need you to keep doing that because it makes us happy and we like it.
Amy, I love that you're doing that. Is there anything else that you do to support other women entrepreneurs and just pour back into that community and that network?
I think, well, I always, when I get like referrals or people asking me, I literally always stop and think, do I know a woman business that would fit this mold? Frankly, this was my first time meeting Asia through this panel. I've referred her actually 3 times now to people who are looking for contractors. I just think that's what we're here to do. And it's why I do this. I mean, selfishly to do this like entrepreneur group, and it's called, it's so unofficial that, but it's like, I call it bring your own entrepreneur because I don't have time to come up with a guest list. I need people to help me bring us all together. And it's just like, if you need, I don't know. I love women. I think that we are stronger together, and Detroit's an amazing community. I do not feel any competition or like threatening running a business here. And I love that about it. And I think it's just my duty as a women business owner to help others and to be a sounding board. Shoot, if I can help somebody who's starting a business today skip 20 of the mistakes that I made so that they have a faster track, I would gladly do it. I will gladly do it. And I made a lot of mistakes. I can fast track a lot of people.
And that's so important.
Early. Get an accountant early.
There we go. There we go. There's the tip. You heard it here first, people.
We all think we can do QuickBooks. We all try and pinch pennies. You're not doing yourself any favors. Get somebody to help you.
You heard it here first. Rachel, what about you?
Am I allowed to use a swear word here?
No one's watching. Go do it.
Okay, so I founded this group called Business Bitches Be Brunchin', and it's a small, intimate group of women business owners from all different disciplines. We have a PR professional, we have a construction professional, we have retail stores, we have restaurants, we have service-oriented businesses. And we do, well, before the pandemic, we did get together physically for brunch. We could still do it outside, but we also have like a secret Facebook group where we are able to just have a safe space where we can be honest and open and talk about what's going on, the good stuff. And I guess we do have bad things happen to us occasionally. We have bad days, we have bad, things that happen that, we want to fix, or we want to reflect on, or we just want to vent about. Like, I had a really rough day the other day, and I just needed to talk it out and just needed to have someone listen. And my crew, and I'm not just talking about BBBB, but like my friends, my other people in the trenches were there. I think that there's a huge emphasis put on role models, right? Like, everyone has a role model of what they want to aspire to be. I think that just equally as important, if not more important, are peers. You need people who are in the trenches doing what you're doing and experiencing what you're experiencing to just hear you and validate you and just say, I hear you. I know what you're going through. I'm so sorry. Whether or not you can advise them through it or give them some helpful feedback, or even if you're just there to listen to them, I think that's sometimes all we need. So I think that that's really empowering, is just to listen to each other. Also, never, ever, ever miss a chance for collaboration, especially if it's something that you sincerely love. Like the other day, me, Q, and Alex from Bon, we were in a room together, which was like, I mean, it was like the Power Rangers coming together and like touching rings. And immediately I was like, oh my God, Q, we need to do this together. And like Alex was like, oh my God, we need to collaborate on a photo shoot with this cute marketing idea. Like, you can't help but just want to collaborate with each other and bring each other's audiences to each other. And if you can do that with a friend, like, all the better. And that's a great way to support other women.
I love that. That's the community is so important. So thank you guys so much. I recognize we are over time, so we're going to wrap it up here. We've had so many people reach out to us just wanting a community of entrepreneurs to network with, and we're happy to be able to provide that resource, happy to be able to connect you with other entrepreneurs who have their own community to just build upon one another. I really want to thank our panelists so much for joining us and sharing their knowledge and their insights. Thank you, ladies, so much. It was so beneficial and eye-opening. But I also want to thank all the attendees for joining us in this conversation and sticking with us all the way to the end. Again, I apologize for going over time. But as I mentioned, this is a quarterly forum, so we're really looking forward and excited to build on today's momentum in December for our next panel, and hope that you all join us for the Entrepreneurial Legacy Forum, The Next Generation. We want you to all be a part of our community, like I said. So thanks again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.